Every day, first responders around the world risk their lives to save ours. Today, I want to say thank you to our first responders for everything that they do and shine light on the positive impact they have on us as citizens. On my journey to become an athletic trainer, I have worked with several first responders and I have witnessed their selfless actions to serve others. I want to give thanks to our first responders by sharing what they do and how they have inspired countless others to serve alongside them. After today's speech, I hope you have a newfound appreciation for the work that our first responders do, as well as continuing to spread the message of thanks to our first responders. First, I want to provide you with a little bit of background information on what our first responders do. In this section, I will provide you with insight on the daily life of a first responder. Many of you might already know the duties of a first responder, but we don't often see behind the scenes. In an article published by Charter College, it highlights the rewards and challenges of being a first responder. First responders work long days and nights. On average, emergencies can happen at any time, so first responders work anywhere from a 9 to 12-hour shift. First responders are often faced with challenging work environments. Many first responders face on-the-job hazards. These can include contagious diseases, lifting heavy weights, and even restraining certain patients. First responders are often faced with emotional trauma. First responders see severe injuries, mental illnesses, and even death. The stressful work environment filled with high emotions can bring harm to their mental health. Now you know a little bit about the daily challenges of a first responder. Now let's highlight some first responders and their hard work and dedication. In this section, I will recognize a few first responders and organizations who have dedicated their lives to protecting our nation. The following first responders and organizations have selflessly served their nation through countless emergencies. Elise Rivera, age 30, is a 911 operator. Elise Rivera became a 911 operator during COVID. She felt a call to serve and to help those in need. Nita is age 42 and she's an EMT. In an article published by ABC News, Nita shares what it's like to be an EMT during the pandemic. As a leader, my job is to serve not only the patients, but also to serve my paramedics and my medics. So I just focus on one task at a time, said Nita. After sharing with you the achievements made by some of our first responders, let's take a look at many of our first responders and the impacts they have had on our lives. In this section, I am going to share with you the impact first responders have had on our lives as citizens. Many of us understand the importance of first responders and appreciate all that they do. Let's take a look at some of the impacts they have had. Many first responders were on the front lines during COVID, helping treat illness and preventing the spread. According to an article published by PMC, a paramedic age 40 said, "So I can't stare at my patient and tell him I can't help him because I fear I'll give him COVID. That's just it. I guess it's kind of a risk-reward analysis that I take every time I've got a patient in the back of my squad. I ask myself, how big of a risk am I willing to take and what kind of reward I want? The reward is whether the patient improves or gets worse." First responders put their lives in danger to help others during the pandemic, showing society that they are here to help. Another time in history where first responders have served our nation was during the events of 9/11. During this time, everyone came together as a united front. Thousands of first responders risked their lives to save people from the towers. In an article published by United Nations talking about the sacrifices made during 9/11, Mr. Gutierrez honors those who put themselves in harm's way when they headed towards the towers. He quoted, "With many making the ultimate sacrifice, exemplifying the very humanity and compassion that terrorism seems to erase. During this united front, everyone came together to overcome the damages brought by 9/11. Today, you have been informed on what challenges a first responder faces, first responders who have been recognized for their achievements, and community members whose lives have been impacted by first responders. Now you have insight on first responders and the work that they do to keep our nation safe. Thank you to all of our first responders for the selfless serving you do. We continue to thank you as we recognize all first responders on October 28th for National First Responder Day. We thank them for their willingness to serve and provide action when disaster strikes." Thank you.